my God, too many numbers. That's what I hear all the time. Too many numbers. I'm checked out already. Right? How do we use that as something that is not just keeping us from understanding our business fully, but it's also a metaphor for how we show up in all of our life.
Welcome to Wealth Embodied. Together, along with some amazing guests, we'll explore and tap into our innate abundance and have meaningful conversations about developing our ability to embody the vibration of wealth while also uncovering new ways to think, feel, and cultivate our relationship with money so we can live our lives wealthy and aligned. Let's welcome our host, Alara Sage.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wealth Embodied, where we activate and inspire you in wealth consciousness, your creative genius, and your visionary impact. I'm your host, Alara Sage, and I find that oftentimes we think that finances is really left brain, and our financial system structures and strategies are very much rooted in this old way, this old paradigm. What if we are here to revolutionize that? What if we are here to bring together, to merge, to unify spiritual practices, intuition, energy work, consciousness, and the game of money? That excites me. I hope it excites you. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation today about enlightened finances with our wonderful special guest, Jennifer Pietrzak, who is a financial healer and certified public accountant for spiritual entrepreneurs. She helps her clients understand how their subconscious beliefs around money directly affect their financial outcomes and heal their past stories and relationship with money. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So enlightened finances is your word, your phrase, which I truly adore. And I would love to start the conversation out with, how do you define that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Enlightened finances, that term is actually channeled. And so in true spirit of what you do and what I do, I really am bringing 18 years of accounting background with all of the spiritual development, energy work, channeling, Akashic records, all of those things that I do together in enlightened finances. And so to me, enlightened finances is about taking it to the next level. As you said so beautifully and eloquently, we think of finances and accounting as very left brain. And what I've noticed over 18 years of working with business owners and people in general with their finances is when they come into the office or they come onto the Zoom screen, there's like this aspect that shifts, this persona that shifts. And all of a sudden, we're back in this, there's a right way and a wrong way. And, there's a right answer and a wrong answer from that, the way we were taught math. And so all of that kind of comes up when we're having conversations with our financial team, whether that be an accountant, whether that be your financial advisor, financial planner, what have you, CFO. And I think it's really important that we start shifting the way that we come to those conversations. Just like anything else we might do outside of finances and math and accounting, get grounded, right? We call on our high self to guide us. So tools like that can really come forward and be a part of that conversation so that we're not really flipping that switch, so to speak, in our mind and moving into this space of like, okay, this is analytics. This is different than what I actually do in my day-to-day in my business or investing, And so when we look at it from that perspective, we can start bringing in that focus of alignment and making choices and financial decisions that are truly aligned in the highest good of all, in the highest good of our path and what we're meant to do, and less so focused on seeking expert advice and again, empowering the expert to say, well, yeah, this is the right thing for you to do. We should all trust that whatever our decision-making authority is, however we go about that, we should all trust that we have everything that we need to make these types of decisions.
I think that's such an important point because we often do give our power away to, financial experts, to scientists, to doctors. And I think that we're all shifting into remembering that we have this inner authority and, that inner authority is unique to us. That's the beauty of it, right? Because one strategy, one way of doing something, how another person, even an expert, sees your situation or sees something isn't necessarily your experience of it either. So that intuition, that inner authority is really that inner guidance that's unique to us. I want to ask you, what do you think is one of the biggies, kind of this is what you have to do of the old way of doing money and finances that you are bringing forth in a revolutionary way?
Yeah, the one that's popping into my mind right now, I've been getting questions this week centered around the election and the results of the U.S. election, and questions about like, how do I strategize for my business? What do I need to know? How do I move forward in the new climate? And I think that's a really interesting conversation. Of course, there's going to be legislation that shifts, and we're getting used to retroactive legislation. So, in the midst of doing a tax return, we might be getting new legislation. So you're certainly that aspect of that rule-based way of thinking and performing. And I think that it's really important to first go inward and not be so, quote unquote, bothered by what's going on in external circumstances. And this concept is applicable in any area, but this is just the example that's coming to me, is like, yes, we see what's being reflected in the world around us, but we can create our own economy based on following our passion, following what's in alignment for us. And that always, in my opinion, and in my professional opinion, that is always the first thing. Why are we going to do something? If we're going to do something from taking cues from the external climate, in one way that can be really the way that we advance. But in another way, we want to be cautious that we're not making fear-based decisions. And so that's just one example of how I see the paradigm shift around how we do finances, how we do money, shifting towards a more holistic approach. And ultimately, what's good for each individual is good for the whole.
Yeah, that's, I would say, one of the biggest ones as well, as we've been taught to watch all of that, right? To watch what's happening politically, what's happening economically, and make your decisions off of that. And to me, that is one of I don't want to say like the biggest mistakes, because there truly is no wrong or right, but it is that place of granting our power outside of ourselves and really saying the external world dictates my inner world, right? Rather than the opposite. My inner world dictates and creates my external world. Because ironically enough, even though in society we teach a lot about, you need to be paying attention to what's happening around you to make these decisions for yourself, it's proven time and time again that there are many people that excel when the economy is in the dirt, right? Many people that excel against the odds when people are saying, this isn't the time to scale, this isn't the time to make money, this is the time to crack down, to hold on to. And then there's the ones who aren't listening and are doing the opposite, right? So it's so interesting to me where that's proven time and time again, yet we still have this teaching in society of you need to be watching and listening and determining your actions based off of that external reality. Has that been your experience as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm getting visions of like, wouldn't it be wonderful? And maybe this is something that we can talk about, is, we have energy forecasts. We have people that use numerology or astrology or whatever they're using to kind of guide us with where the collective energy is moving in any given month, in any given time period. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could combine some of what's happening in what I would call the more structured or legislative, economical, traditional financial systems into that kind of commentary on collective energy? I think that would be a really wonderful way for us to start moving into, like I said, a new paradigm with how we view finances and what all we take into consideration. And we're getting our news, when we're becoming informed, when we're tapping in, however an individual chooses to do that. I think it's a wonderful thing that now we have people who are kind of wise to, there's a more holistic way to do things.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in the past, that's what they used to do. They used to consult the stars, consult the planetary alignments, understanding, quite frankly, the massive influence that the planets have on the collective consciousness. And simultaneously, I still feel like, I see a lot of people with numerology and astrology give their power away to that. It always comes down to being informed, like receiving the information, because we want to be informed, right? We also don't want to just pretend that things aren't happening. I think there's a balance between receiving the information and then really sitting with that. And what is true for me, right? What is true for me in this moment? Because I've even had numerologists and people who are very much into astrology really give all their power away to what the planets are doing, give all their power away to what number it is today. That doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't resonate with me at all. Because if I'm getting an intuitive hit to launch now or to play this game or, invest my money and the number isn't there in numerology, I'm going to follow my intuition.
Absolutely. Certainly using these as tools. And I guess that's a beautiful comparison contrast right there, is like when we're talking about experts projecting the future and telling us, oh, this is the time based on what the economy is doing to go down or to buy or, whatever the thing is. It's kind of the similar thing, right? Like none of us have a crystal ball, and that's not really what we're here to do and what we're here to experience in this lifetime. We're here to walk our path and expand in every direction and understand what that expansion means, understand what consciousness means to us as we have manifested and what's the word that I'm looking, incarnated into this path. And so these things can all come together, but it's interesting that there's similarities to how collectively we try to make it simplified. And really, it's both a collective and individual journey. So I think what you said was so beautiful.
Yes, I love that so much. So what do you find are the hardest challenges for people when we're talking about combining intuition, spirituality, consciousness, and finances? Where do people just struggle to put those two together?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in my experience, when people come to sit down and have an accounting conversation or talk about their taxes or do some strategic planning of sorts, it's like a different mindset. And what I think that has been encouraged thus far is to, like, when we sit down, we're sitting down to a task and we're sitting down for a specific scope of services, a specific decision-making process, whether it be for ourselves or for our businesses. And I think, I hesitate to say that it's a mistake, but because there are no mistakes, but wouldn't it be empowering if we started the conversation not only with a grounding, but talking about what emotions are we bringing to the table? And that's what I do in my work, is I'm much more interested in, quote unquote, what's up? What's up? Like, not just what are we here to do together? But why is this coming up now? And what are your emotions around it? And what's the story that you're telling yourselves? The illustration of that might be if I put a profit and loss statement in front of a business owner. I've had years of experience of looking at profit and loss statements. I've gone to school for it, that's what I do, right? So my comfort level with a document like that is very different than, a business owner that's just starting out, or even somebody who is much more advanced and mature in their business. And so there's a dialogue that's going on in their brain. In the emotional body, there's a reaction, and it may not be to what we've sat down to do for that day, right? It could be past experiences, traumas, past life stuff. It can span as far as you're willing to take it, right? But I find it to be a much more effective methodology for us to, put something like a profit and loss in front of us as a basis, as a tool to guide our conversation, and then say, okay, what's coming up for you? Oh my God, too many numbers. That's what I hear all the time. Too many numbers. I'm checked out already. Right. And, it's about how do we move through that? How do we use that as something that is not just keeping us from understanding our business fully or understanding how we're interacting with whatever financial transactions we're a part of, but it's also a metaphor for how we show up in all of our life. So where else is that kind of reaction happening in our life? Oh, happening in my romantic relationship. Very interesting. Let's connect the dots on these two things. Never thought about having a relationship conversation with an accountant, but so often that is a pattern that I see over and over again, is that we're showing up in our finances the way that we would in our most intimate of relationships. And I know a lot of teachers speak to the idea that we're in relationship to money, right? So that, to me, connecting those dots really makes sense, and I can see the sacred geometry in it. And that's where I think it begins, is to understand what's happening in the emotions, what stories are coming up, what meanings are we taking away from this process. And then once we've addressed those things and we're, in a more calm state, a more grounded state to receive, then we can throw in some aligned strategies and aligned tactics that are specific to what the individual wants, needs, and surprises in life are showing up. And that's how we get to the dream. That's how we get to the goal.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of it is a relationship, and it's a very intimate relationship. And so, your attachment style is going to be the same. Your attachment style to money is going to be the same as the attachment style you have with your intimate relationships. And that's the beauty of it, right? Because the thing I love about money is it's measurable. So it's like you can literally see the measurement of, your intimacy and how much you're really allowing yourself to be in your full power just by looking at your money. How do you find with people, is it easy for people to start implementing their intuition when it comes to money? I think this is my perception. I haven't dealt a lot with this just yet. I work more on the energetics and the limiting beliefs. When you're really asking people to start making decisions for themselves and you're helping them to be aware of the emotions and you're helping them to tap more into that intuitive nature, do they find that challenging to trust themselves? And how do you help them with that?
Yeah. Yes, trust is such a big thing. And it's a process, right? It's not like, okay, we're going to have a 5-10 minute conversation about trusting yourself or, your emotional body or, whatever's coming up. And then all of a sudden they're going to be able to implement and take action immediately and trust that that's divinely guided and that's exactly what they need to do. So I like to take people through a very customized process of sometimes it's about just meditating a little bit more and getting really comfortable And when I say meditation, I should really clarify what I mean by that. I will do channeled visualizations for people. So in the middle of our conversation, we'll just tune in, maybe we'll open the records, whatever it is, and really so I can help them with whatever is going on with them. So an example might be, if I start out with somebody who is brand new to all of the energy work, I'm going to say, feel your feet on the floor. Let's, shift in your seat a little bit. And when you're ready, close your eyes and take some few deep breaths. And then from there, we allow the channel to take us to whatever that person needs to connect with their body wisdom is what I would call it. Where are they feeling the tension or stress, or does the body want to show you? And so this is a tool that they can use not just in finances, but they'll use it every time that they're with me. They'll, have a little homework. They go back and feel into did this feel right for you? Did it resonate for you? How might you change it? What did you notice? And I give people support on tuning into that because I agree that, in the beginning, I can remember, back in the beginning where I was just not ready to trust the synchronicities. I was not ready to trust, that little voice in my head that's been there all along. That's really trying to help me along on my path here. And that little voice, that internal guidance system, however it shows up for you, is just as legitimate as any academia, any degree, any built up expertise, and that they need to work together as like a council or a board of directors to help us make those decisions. But ultimately, it is for us as the ultimate decision maker in our lives to trust what's best for us. And sometimes that means we don't make a decision right now.
I think another important thing that I find when speaking to intuition is people believe that if they listen to their intuition, everything's going to work out perfectly. And that's not always the case. Like the intuition,
Right.
Our inner guidance is not saying, hey, here's the easy road. If you take action in this direction, it'll be really easy and everything will work out perfect to what you are perceiving that perfection to be, because it will work out perfectly. But I even spoke to a woman the other day where she said, yeah, I followed my intuition and everything blew up. And I was like, well, isn't that fantastic? And she kind of looked at me like, what do you mean, isn't it fantastic? It was wrong. I made the wrong choice. And I said, well, why did you make the wrong choice? And she said, because all this stuff happened. Like the perception that if we follow our intuition or it's the right choice, AKA quote unquote, that it's going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be easy. And that's not always the case. There's been so many times that I've followed my intuition that I have, because my intuition is guiding me towards expansion, towards the next level of myself. Holy heck, if I haven't faced my limiting beliefs, right? Dissolved more of my ego, really come across some very bumpy road. And through moving through that, right, really did expand and be able to look back and be like, wow, it was a transformational intuitive hit, right? That was a transformational moment. But yeah, it wasn't take action and then, it's all smooth sailing. It was taking action and wow, there's some things that I really need to look at here. And I really need to shift in myself to move through this. Has that been your experience as well?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I mean, 6 years ago, I left employment to start my own business, and it has been iteration after iteration after revision after revision, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing all of the things. I'm following the guidance to the best of my ability. I've truly, I believe I am at the pinnacle of trusting, and I can still trust more, right? But I think at some point, at least in my experience, it becomes like a shifting into, it's not as hard to trust. It's even more, it's like the word that's coming to me is the safer path for me to trust those intuitive hits and guidance and my guides and whatever you want to call them, because it kind of cuts out some of the noise. And what I notice within myself and within my clients is there's actually less turmoil. When we choose to trust in the peaceful path and release some of that worry that really doesn't need to be there, can be there if we want to choose a harder path, a path of more suffering sometimes. But even though we can get to that place of peace and trust, it still doesn't show up the way that you expect it to show up. In some cases, it shows up way differently. I mean, I think about, a deeper level of surrender, and I'm like, okay, like by definition, the surrender is not giving up. It's saying, you know what, I release my need to control the outcome. I release my need to have that investment pay off. I release that need for this business to be perfect from the start. Yes. And what opens up is this beauty of in every moment, I can just be who I am and make decisions and know that it's not going to be the end of me. That I'm going to grow from it. And that growth is the path. And that doesn't stop just because we're talking about finances and money and that security and safety that we want. That all of it is the security and safety that we want.
Yeah.
I don't know if
what
that
we
made
want
any
is
sense, but
trust to me is the security and safety. That feeling of trust is what gives us that sense of security, that sense of safety, that sense of peace, right? And for me, they always end up more magnificent, more miraculous than I had perceived as I had the hit and, started to take action. But it is important to understand that doesn't mean that it's just going to be this smooth sail, because when we're expanding ourselves, when we're being offered the next level, as I like to call it, we have to face some things about ourselves. I love how you bring up both of them together. I really believe that this is where we're headed. And I really want to just celebrate you in having the courage to put these two things together, because they actually are so harmonious together. They're so beautiful together, but our society hasn't quite caught on to that and kind of still believes, they should be separated and in very different rooms on opposite sides of the house. So what would you give, just one quick tip, one quick tool that people can start to apply to their lives now with what we're speaking about here today?
Absolutely. The place that I like to start in general is, start looking at your numbers. Now, I'm not talking about numerology. I'm talking about your financial data, whether it's your bank balance, whether it's how much money you made this year, last year, what have you, how much your debt is, any of the numbers on your profit and loss or balance sheet. Choose any of those numbers. I like to start with a bank balance and do a visualization, get grounded, hold that number in your mind and ask yourself questions about it. How do I feel about this? What do I see about this? Do I want to change it immediately? Is it supporting me? How would I like to grow this number or shrink this number? Where do I feel that in my body? What does it remind me of? What memory is coming up? And not making anything wrong, but just being in that beautiful place of observation and witnessing. That's the place that I would start. And I have some guided audios to help people with that. I'll give you a second thing as well, if that doesn't resonate for some people. If you're going to start cultivating a deeper relationship with your finances, not just your money, but your finances, the numbers that represent that money and those transactions, keep it to 20 minutes. Start rewiring the way that you think and feel about doing math, about whether it's collecting your bank statements or taking 20 minutes to look at your portfolio from the last quarter. Whatever the quote unquote financial task is at hand, limit it to 20 minutes. And the reason why I say that is you want to quit while it's still fun. You want to start associating the fact that I can do this. I feel empowered by what I learned about this. And to seek guidance, seek help. That's if you need guidance on how do I even look at this thing? Find somebody that you trust and can confide in to walk you through it. So those would be the two things that I would start with.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love the 20 minutes. I love both of them. They're both super relevant. And you can even combine the two, right? You can sit down, tap into your body, breathe, and be with that and be with the numbers, and then keep that to 20 minutes, right? And yeah, keep it fresh, keep it feeling good, make it fun, right? Because it can be fun. It definitely wasn't for me initially, but I've turned it into a place that I enjoy. I'm spending my time with my numbers and with my money, even when it's not showing up as I, quote unquote, want it to. It's still fun. I feel like it's a fun game when you let it be more of a game than more of this math class that you have to attend in school and you have to get
right.
or you fail or all the pressure. Yeah, so wonderful. So how can people reach out to you, connect with you?
Yeah, so my website is sphericalwealth.com. You can also find me on Facebook, and I do have a brand new Enlightened Finance community. It's on the school platform. I can send you the link and the information for that if you want to share that out. But it's Enlightened Finances on the school platform. And there, we're really kind of trying to stick to the 20 minutes of fun, whether it be we open up the records and ask some questions or do an energy clearing or Q&A. I do some mini hot seat financial coaching in that group as well. So there's like a nice mix, some educational videos. That would be the place to start. But also there's plenty of other avenues through my website, Spherical Wealth.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. And as I said, I'm celebrating you for what you're doing and what you're bringing into the world.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And same to you.
And to the audience, make sure that you share this episode and, take what Jennifer said and sit down with your finances, sit down with your money, spend some time with it. And even what we were alluding to before, what is that relationship there, right? Are you anxious? Do you feel safe? Do you feel dismissive? Like you don't want to look at it? Just acknowledging those first emotions that you feel when you go to sit down with your money can be very eye-opening and honestly transformational in and of themselves. I love you all so very much, and I will speak to you next Tuesday. Much love.
Thank you for being a part of Wealth Embodied. As you experience each new day, we want you to feel that you are capable of tapping into your innate abundance and living your life wealthy and aligned. If you want to be invited to the next episode, just subscribe to our podcast. And if you need more information in the meantime, go to alarasage.com.